Hello, cruel world, and welcome to a very special live-ish episode of I Love This, You Should Too. My name is Indy Side Stage Randawa, and with me is my lovely co-host Samantha Beer Gardens Randawa, and we are here at the Calgary Folk Music Festival.
Yeah, we're here. We're seeing some music. I'm really excited to be here. It's very cool to be media, and I feel like a big deal.
We saw our first band already, and you know what? We were too excited. We didn't record anything, but we saw Making Movies. I'd been listening to them a little bit beforehand. Their set that they played here, much heavier than I was expecting, but I liked it, and I got everyone up and dancing at the end.
Yeah, I love a dancey show, especially to kick off the weekend. It's nice to be able to get up and clap and dance with everybody, and it's such a cool environment. I think we said in our pre-episode that it's our first Calgary Folk Festival, so it's cool to just get to learn a new festival.
And now we are heading over to see Benin International Musical, and I'm very excited for this one. If you want to dancey, I think you're going to get very dancey at this one.
Excellent. I can't wait to dance.
And now we are just sitting down by the river because this festival is held on an island.
Yeah, it's such a different environment from what we're used to, and it's really nice to be able to come and have a little quiet moment just on the riverbank with some geese. Lots of geese.
And the audio is probably terrible because it's kind of windy, but at least it's not incredibly hot like it has been, and I think will be again soon. We finished watching Benin International Musical, so I'd only listened to a little bit of their stuff before, but when they played the one song that I knew the words to, I was really excited about that. How'd you like it?
It was really good. They had everyone out dancing. It was a fun show to watch because they had their people were dancing too, and it was just a fun little mix of music that they played.
And we're not even going to sit here and talk about it too much, so we'll just say it was good. If you get a chance, go see them, but we have to get going because we're going to go watch the Mariachi Ghost.
Sounds spooky.
It might be a little. That sounds fun. Back down by the river. We just finished at the Mariachi Ghost.
And it was an incredible show. I don't want to say it on the first day, but that might have been my favorite thing of the festival.
It might be. We got lucky, even though we are a podcast. I am a photographer, so I got to go right in front of the stage and take pictures right up there, which was a lot of fun. And it was a little bit difficult because I was also dancing while shooting because they put on that good of a show. I'm not going to just sit there and take pictures.
No, you definitely wanted to be up on your feet dancing and getting to see, they have really cool face paint. So one side of their face is just normal and the other side they have almost skeleton face paint. or ghost face paint, I guess. And so shooting from either side for our Instagram, you got some like really cool different photos.
Just a fantastic show in so many different ways. They broke into a Rage Against the Machine cover in the middle of one of their songs, which was great. I loved it. They seem like just good guys as well. A little bit political, which I'm always a fan of. And they just got everyone up. I don't know. It was one of my top musical performances. It's up there. It was fantastic. I can't say enough good about them because we listened to them a bunch and I liked it, but not nearly as much as seeing it all live.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we said in our pre-episode that like sometimes it doesn't translate as well once it's not live anymore. And honestly, this is something that I'm going to go back and really listen to on our playlist again, because they were just like, it was such an incredible show. Everyone was really into it. So it was like the vibes were there.
Well, I think that brings us to the end of day one. Everything's been pretty great. We're really enjoying the setup of this festival. I know it's only the Thursday, so we can't really judge it yet, but it seems like well set up.
Yeah, it's like I keep saying, it's really different from what we're used to, but I really appreciate how they've set things up, and I think that going into the weekend, it's going to be a lot of fun to just like be around here and see people.
And if you ever get too hot, you just come down to the river. It's very nice. All right, off to day two. All right, we're going to do a bit of a time jump all the way to the end of day two, Friday night. And let's just do a little day in review since we didn't even get a chance to record during the day.
We were so busy enjoying ourselves and doing cool media things that, yeah, we kind of just forgot to record any content. So we started this afternoon at Oi Mi Canto with Mariachi Ghost, Sarah Church, making movies, and it was a party.
It was a lot of fun because this is one of the few ones where we're familiar with each of them beforehand, and they fit very well together. They did a lot of back and forth. They did a comparison and a little bit of musical history of different types of instruments from their respective countries, because it was kind of like a pan-Latin flavor going on, because they're just people from Mexico, Ecuador, Panama, all over the place, and bringing all those different styles together. So that one was pretty great.
Yeah, it was so cool to get to see some of these new instruments that we haven't seen before, and we got to learn about the different like what they're called in different countries, even though, and how they're just a little bit different. And everyone was up dancing. I feel like I give the dance report every time we podcast, but everybody was dancing. And yeah, it was just like so cool to see them all join in on each other's songs. It was a real magical folk fest moment.
And then after that, we were getting all ready to go to Babel Blues, but we got lucky enough that Jorge, the lead singer from the Mariachi Ghost, was going to do an interview with us, and we didn't even know that until the second he sat down.
Yeah, my name is Jorge Requena Ramos, and I play in the Mariachi Ghost.
Thanks so much for making the time for us today, but I guess first time in Calgary, and how has this been for you?
First time at Calgary Folk Festival. It's a really interesting folk festival. We've played maybe 100 festivals in the career of the band, and it's always refreshing to see something like this. Like it's a city site, downtown, next to the river. It just increases the accessibility for people, especially, and this is important to me, especially racialized and indigenous peoples. They have more access to not having to leave the city.
So I think the other fun thing of festivals like this that I love is seeing musicians maybe from different parts of the world coming together, and a lot of the times that they share a certain bond and they're able to perform together. So we saw you today performing with a bunch of other very talented musicians. So how were those experiences for you?
Yeah, we have a great admiration for making movies and Sara Kurucic. We've played like next to Sara Kurucic in London, Ontario, and then making movies came to my festival in Winnipeg. And we have a great relationship. It's been a long time coming, our collaboration with them, and it was amazing that Carrie had the idea of putting us all together on a stage. It's like a slam dunk of an idea to put us all together on a stage.
Yeah. So this format is so, like you said, unique. Getting to kind of play around and play each other's instruments and get in on other songs. Were there any moments during that set that were just like kind of magical?
Yeah, Sara Curuchish has a traditional Guatemalan marimba, which is kind of like, if you don't know what a marimba is, it's a wooden xylophone it's from Africa, but it's also played in all of Latin America. When I was growing up, there was marimba groups that would walk around with their marimba and stop in the street and play on the street, and then you would come out and give them money. Just in the middle of the day, they would just be, and then go to the next street over and then do it again. And it's kind of the sound of the neighborhoods where I grew up. And so to be able to play music with a marimba, which we haven't been able to do, was the Mariachi Ghost, was really incredible. And I've been listening to Sara's music and Enrique's and Making Movies music for the last 2 years, like on repeat. And so it was like watching my playlist, my Spotify playlist, play in front of me, and I got to stand there and play music with them. It's amazing.
And then kind of along those lines, when you're seeing all these different musicians come together, yourself and your band seems to draw inspiration from a bunch of different sources, both traditional and more contemporary. So I wonder if you could talk about some of those music styles that maybe a lot of audiences around Alberta aren't as familiar with.
Yeah, so the Mariachi Ghost obviously has some influences of mariachi. We also are influenced by a traditional music from south of Mexico, son jarocho. Son jarocho is an evolution of Baroque music that came from Spain, but the south of Mexico was also, the southeast of Mexico was also where all the slaves arrived during the slave trade in Mexico. And so there was a lot of communities that were just African migrants that had arrived in Mexico because of the slave trade. And in Mexico abolished slavery like 100 years before the States. So those communities just became communities of Mexicans that still have that traditional African and Baroque European tradition together, and so they came up with this music called son jarocho.
Then when you're playing up there doing things like that, do you have a certain like pan-Latin kind of pride in seeing all of these different musicians come together like that?
Yeah, and that's like the most, to me that really is the most Canadian experiment. I was saying yesterday at the show, like the Canadian economy is impossible without migrants and without indigenous lands and the labor of migrants. Those two things are what make the Canadian economy possible. And so none of that is necessarily fair or good, but that's just the reality of things. And so I encourage people to sort of reflect on that, and a part of that is having all of this music from all over the world represented at a local festival in Calgary, where the great majority of the people are white people that have listened to Americana for their whole lives, and they're being exposed to all over the world, and it helps generate a cultural mutual appreciation and a love for other people's cultures. This is like the greatest victories of the Canadian folk festivals, is that they help people appreciate other people and other things that are not what you grew up with, and that goes a long way. You know, they leave the festival and they go live the whole year with that appreciation of, maybe they're going to listen to a sound from Benin or a sound from Mexico or a sound from, you know, like Tunisia, and they're going to be like, oh, I heard that at the Calgary Folk Festival, you know. And somebody that sounds with an accent like my accent, that you're going to meet him on the street, and you're like, I remember a person that sounded like that from the Calgary Folk Festival. They were on a stage. It was an important place, you know, and that goes a long way to generating that mutual cultural appreciation.
Absolutely, thank you. Yeah, so always a good idea. If you're listening to all of this international music, look at that country too. Look at people from that country that are in your community, opening up little shops too, and not just the music, but a little beyond that.
I have one last question. So we like to play Dream Folk Fest lineup. Who would be your dream artist to play with?
Ooh, that's a really hard question. It's a very, very hard question. I got to play with one of them today. Making Movies is one of my dream artists to play with. I guess maybe the Mavericks or Los Lobos, from some of the people that like started that Chicano rock movement, where they took it away from the traditional and made their own thing in a new place. Yeah, Gili Yalo. Are you familiar with Gili Yalo? Gili Yalo is an Ethiopian-Israeli performer that lives in Austin, Texas, and Israel, and he's from the Ethiopian Jewish diaspora. and he plays Ethiopian funk with like the Austin sound, which is like crankbeat and Alabama shakes, like so it's Ethiopian funk mixed with that.
On that same note, if people are listening to you, and we've been playing a bit of your music on our show, so who are your influences? I always like to ask any musician, who do you listen to? What did you grow up on? As a good gateway to learning more about your kind of music.
Yeah, so growing up, my mom's music was mariachi and ranchera music. That's what my mom used to listen to. I was a lot of like sort of bolero romantico, like Jose Jose, Camilo Sexto, and my dad's music was Queen and Crocus and like loud 70s rock, and I grew up in the punk scene in Mexico City from when I was like 12 to when I was 18. I was playing in bands in the like new wave and punk movement in Mexico City. So all of those things kind of came together in the Mariachi Ghost, and of course Pink Floyd, the Mars Volta, all those prog influences, Mahavishnu Orchestra, are a part of what we do of the DNA of the Mariachi Ghost. Like exploring outside of both traditions, and it's super important that we do an emotional compass system. Like this has the right emotion in punk, and you can reach the same emotion through mariachi, and you can reach the same emotion through jazz. And so if you figure out how to get there, it's gonna make sense emotionally. The music is gonna make sense. It doesn't have to. You don't have to be worried about gelling together because you're already trying to find something that is not musical. It's an emotion, and so the music will work itself into those places.
Thank you so much. I don't know if there's anything that could have been better than the performance, but as an interview as well. So thanks so much.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Thank you, Jorge, for that incredible interview, and to get to hear him talk about Indigenous languages and living on the land of people who were here long before colonialism happened was like really magical. And then we went and we saw Babel Blues on the main stage.
That one was fun as well. That was another band that I had been listening to a lot, and that one we were far back. We didn't get up there with our media passes. We just kind of hung out in the back and enjoyed the music.
Yeah, it was kind of more of a rest moment for us, but it was still fun.
Which is too bad because that's a good dancing band as well.
We ate some really good empanadas though. And then we took a walk back over to the national stage, and we saw Atron de l'Air.
So this was the one that I was maybe most excited for. Well, the Roots are coming up. Actually, there's a bunch of other ones too, but I was real excited to see them, and I've been listening to them a lot, and they have a couple of albums out that so far I've really enjoyed, but seeing them live, we got to go up front row for this one too, watching their kind of entrancement of everyone. It was a really, at times, robotic sounds bad, but they were in the zone, right?
I was trying to get content for social media, and we're posting less about them because they just did a lot of nodding. They were really feeling the music, but there wasn't a lot of dancing. But we did get a few fun dancing moments, and their guitar player was just real into performing for the camera. So we've got a few moments like that.
But this one, I think one of the biggest dancing audiences. They got everybody up. The dance pit that happens in the front or to the side of a lot of these stages, I would say this was the largest percentage of the audience size.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fancy.
And people were up the entire time. Lots of shows, they'll dance for a few songs and they'll sit down. This one, the dancing was going strong, and their songs are so long. We were really lucky. We're really only allowed to be up in the press area for 3 songs, the first 3 songs. But their songs are so long, we got to spend a half an hour up there, which was amazing.
Yeah, half of their set I got to it felt like a private show, and I felt very lucky. But I'll put those photos up when I get a chance. And after that, we got to go right up for Cowboy Junkies as well and get the press escort. I know we're talking about like the press side of things because we aren't,
We've never done this before. This is like a wild experience for us. We got to see the mayor and we got to like walk by her, and she introduced Cowboy Junkies, and then we got to sit in the very, very front row and hear one of Indy's favorite songs.
Yeah, because they start off, they're going to start off with a hit. So they started off with Sweet Jane, and they are just wrapping up behind us right now. And we are going to finish our night with James Vincent McMorrow.
Yeah, James Vincent McMorrow, if you listen to the pre-episode, was one of my picks for the festival. So I'm really excited to be able to go and see him play some of his music.
And I think we will check back in tomorrow. So I think we do this every time because the first 2 days of the festival are kind of half days. They're not nearly as long. And we always say at the end of day 2, like, wow, we're less than halfway, but then it still flies by in the end.
It really does fly by. And I had that little panic moment where I was like, oh my God, it's almost over. And then I'm like, no, we have 2 full days ahead of us, and we're gonna have a great time, and we're gonna get to do everything we want to do. But yeah, it always feels like it's too short, even though it's 4 days.
And tomorrow is going from 10 a.m. till 11 p.m. So we'll see how much of that we can manage, but we'll talk to you tomorrow.
11:30 p.m.
All right, I'm in.
Yeah, let's go.
All right, time no longer has any meaning. It's actually Sunday morning, but we've been going for quite a while, but we need to review a lot of the amazing things we saw on Saturday. We spent a good about 10 hours yesterday. We're going to do 12 hours today.
Yes, it is a marathon, folks, not a sprint. And we were out and about. We were running all around the site yesterday, I guess, on Saturday. And we saw some amazing things.
So I think we've given up any sense of journalistic integrity. We are here as fans, and it shows. So someone we were big fans of is we got to see Kaylee Cardinal, and I don't know what else to say because we just keep saying, oh, it's such a great show, but it really was. She is one of those people who is such a talented singer that she doesn't need to rely on other things. That is to say that she is just as good live as she is in the studio. When you have a voice like this, it shows.
Yeah, and she was someone that I had picked that I was really excited to see, and she did not disappoint. I cried during Wandering River, and just like the emotion that she sings with and the beauty of her lyrics and the incredible dress she was wearing was just amazing. And I actually got to chat with her a little bit outside the merch tent, and we talked about earrings, and she had some incredible earrings on too, so it was a nice little moment.
She also was a lot of fun because, as emotional as a lot of her songs are, she has a very laid back and fun banter, and I think she just had the audience in the palm of her hand.
Yeah, it helps when the person is just naturally funny and has a good story to go with absolutely every song, and it was just a wonderful experience, and I wish it had been 3 times longer.
We also got to talk to Nicolette Huang from Nicolette and the Nobodies, so let's listen to that right now. So Nicolette Huang from Nicolette and the Nobodies is sparing some of her time so we can softball some questions over her way. Did you just get into the festival today?
I got into the festival, got into Calgary yesterday, but yes, arrived today. We did a workshop this morning.
Yeah, so do you play a lot of festivals like this where you get to play with other artists and kind of make a little bit of musical magic?
I've done a few. we were at Winnipeg Folk Fest last year, and the year before that at Hillside. Yeah, it's interesting because it's really spontaneous. So just a couple tries before, and yeah, getting the hang of it.
It's definitely a different format. So we like to play in the cold months of winter a game of Dream Folk Fest lineup. Who would be your dream session kind of accompaniment?
That is a very overwhelming question. Sierra Farrell, Tyler Childers, oh my goodness, Sturgill Simpson. We're talking dreams, right?
Yeah, dreams, go big.
Charlie Crockett. I could go on.
I'm
though.
sure you could, yeah.
Coulter Wall. That's a local element. That you gotta have a local element. It's you gotta have your CanCon. Yeah, I could keep going, but I think I'm gonna stop there.
Okay, yeah.
Throw on a stage.
Oh, it's a dream stage, so it's as big as you want it to be.
Yeah.
And then listening to your albums, we definitely hear a lot of nods to a lot of famous classic country artists. Who did you grow up listening to a lot?
Depends on when, but yeah, growing up, I was listening to Celine Dion and Pink Floyd and Shania Twain, and yeah, just basically like my parents' music and a lot of classical music. So growing up, yeah, like when I was young, it was a mixture of my parents' music, but I feel like I've gone through a lot of stages. What brought me to where I am kind of now is finding kind of classic country music in my early 20s. So a lot of George Jones and Tammy Wynette and Loretta Lynn. That's just an era that I fell in love with.
And then we heard, but we thought we should fact check. How did you meet the Nobodies?
I met the Nobodies at karaoke. Karaoke night called Golden Throats in Guelph. I just moved back to Guelph and met my partner, and I met the Nobodies through kind of going to this karaoke and through him. And I went up and I sang probably a Kitty Wells or a Tammy Wynette song, and they asked me if I wanted to start a band. So from there, playing covers, I ended up writing my own music, and that's where the Nobodies kind of began.
All right, we were right. That's good. It sounds like it's like a fairy tale kind of band meeting, right?
Yeah. Primarily, actually, my guitarist Ian. I met him through friends, really, like going to shows and stuff like that. So yeah, I basically bring my music to the Nobodies, and they're just people that make me feel safe to show a vulnerable thing, something that I'm creating, and are very supportive and collaborative. Yeah.
Tomorrow, I think it is, or maybe it's later today, but you have some more sessions coming up, and one of them in particular, I was looking through the lineup, and there's going to be a large East Asian representation on the stage. So I was just wondering like how that feels, especially that you're all coming together not because of the fact that you're all of East Asian descent, but rather just musically.
I mean, I'm excited about it. I'm a big fan of TEKE, so they're so cool. I'm not sure how to feel about it, truthfully, because it's kind of exciting in a way that, I mean, growing up there, I didn't really see a lot of Asian representation in music and goes, and so kind of cool to just be on a workshop with other people that are sort of doing the same thing. One thing that sometimes comes up is just that when I was younger, I really fought against being a musician or becoming a musician, because I mean, I'll be honest, I don't think my parents ever wanted me to be a musician, and they're not entirely wrong. But you also can't help what you are to a degree, and a lot of that was challenging because not seeing people who look like me succeed in the spaces that I wanted to exist in. And so, I mean, it's really, really cool when people are like, hey, awesome that you're here.
Well, hey, it's awesome that you're here.
Yeah.
Going into an interview, too much or flattering if they're wearing buttons of you?
Noticed that, and that is so cool. That is just very, very cool. I was like, you handing those out?
I've got one, actually.
Oh, yeah. That is a very sweet gesture. I love that you're wearing it. Oh, you made one for the record too. So cute. Oh, so cute. Thank you.
All right.
I'm flattered.
Oh yeah, well, this started out as a podcast. It was mostly movie-based, but about bringing things that you love to someone else who may not have heard of or seen such a thing. So I know we're going movies now, but do you have a movie that you love that you would like other people to love as well?
It's a very complicated question, but
Is it bad that it's? I hate that I'm opening it with that. Nacho Libre. Solidly
Interesting, okay.
real comfort movie for me.
Good.
Yeah, just again, maybe it has to do with the aesthetics. I'm just very much
It's a good-looking movie for a movie that people might dismiss as like silly comedy. It looks really good.
and it brings me a lot of joy. Yeah.
no bad answers
Yeah.
there. So.
Yeah, there's no
Yeah,
bad answer
no.
there. I'm not gonna dig deep. I'm going surface. That's
Yeah.
exactly what I am.
Perfect.
That's
A
what
girl
we
who
do.
loves Nacho Libre.
That's amazing.
All right, well, thank you so much, Nicolette, a girl who loves Nacho Libre.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So she was so sweet, and Indy made buttons with her face on it. I don't know if you saw our social media poll about that, but we ended up giving her one of our buttons, and she was very excited about it. She was so sweet, and she is so talented, and I'm so excited to get to see her more over the festival.
I think we'll see her a total of 3 times through the sessions and the concert, so let's listen to a little bit of her now.
Why do I give everything to someone who ain't even there? So baby, please show up. I need you. Show up. I've been waiting for you to show up. Show up for me.
So that's Nicolette and the Nobodies. We've been playing that album on pretty steady rotation.
Yeah, she's got such a beautiful voice for someone as small as she is. She's got a big voice, and she's just so talented. And I think, as we said in the interview you just heard, it's amazing seeing representation of different cultures in country music, and I think that's important in all music.
And I think we talked a lot about them 2 episodes ago, so maybe we'll just move on because we are very established fans. And then a band I was really excited to see was TEKE. If you want to talk energy, stage performance, they have a lot of that.
Yeah, they didn't speak any English pretty much throughout the set, but you were hanging on every single word that they were singing, and the dancing and the costumes and just like the array of musical instruments that they played was just incredible, and it had you so transfixed.
And at one of the sessions today, because I think I've seen them 3 times in the last 48 hours, they played a cover of a Kaji Meiko song, which is, she's one of my very favorite singers. She's a 70s action movie star and also enka singer, and they covered one of her songs. And maybe there's a big contingent of people who are big fans, but I loved it. I didn't think I would be hearing any 70s enka today, and I'm so glad I did. So I know I've been saying it a lot, but they're definitely one of my standouts of the festival. I maybe will see them another time still before the night's out. But we need to finish it up with the headliners of Saturday evening, perhaps the headliners of the entire festival, The Roots.
So I know the Roots. I think we talked about this in the pre-episode from seeing them on late night television. I have recently started listening to them a bunch just as we've been preparing for the festival, and Indy loves the Roots, so you know we listened to a lot of it, and I loved it. They played for 2 hours straight, no breaks. Like people, like the individuals in the band took breaks, but like they just never stopped playing, and it was such a high energy show. They had dancing, they had like so many different instruments, and it was just amazing to kind of see how all of these random instruments really fit together and made such a cohesive sound.
And I feel like you, just as you'd expect, I'm going to monologue a little bit now because I don't even know how to gather my thoughts on the show because I've been a fan of the Roots since about like 94, 95, and I didn't listen to a lot of their stuff later. And because of that, I kind of forgot that who the Roots are now in this iteration because there's only 2 members from the original album that are still around. And what they do now, when you're talking about late night TV, they have to be a bit of a chameleon band. They have to be able to play everything. They are backing up artists that are doing metal or rock or hip hop or jazz, and they have to be able to adapt to that. And that was something that I was kind of sleeping on because they did do a bunch of pre-99 stuff. So old heads like me, where we got our fix, and I got to sing along with all of that, and I was thrilled about that. Originally, I thought, oh, I hope they only play stuff from that time, but they didn't, and I'm happy about it. I'm thankful for what they did instead, because what they did was kind of take you on a journey. On a journey through hip hop and then through music. There was this old song that they would do in the 90s a bunch. I forget the title, but then in parentheses, it was I'm Every MC. And it was this thing that Questlove and Black Thought were working on where Quest would imitate the production styles of different rappers, and it would blend from one to the other. And Tariq, Black Thought, he would mimic the rapping style of different rappers, and it would kind of take you on a journey of hip-hop through the ages, and they would do that in this one mashup song. And what they've effectively done now is extended that to all of the instruments and made it a 2-hour thing, because they would take you through the Roots catalog where they would mash like 5 or 6 of their songs from different eras, but Roots songs all together. But Black Thought would change his cadence so you'd be hearing the lyrics of one song but in the style of a different rapper. And I think a lot of this maybe is just me being like too much of a nerd and really getting in there, and maybe it's lost on people or maybe it's unintentional, but there's big fans out there, right? And it's really special to those people who are picking up on it. And if not, it just sounds great. You don't know what the song sounded like originally, and you don't know who he's referencing all the time, but that's cool because it just sounds fantastic. But not only would he do that with his vocal stylings, and then sometimes he'd get into some reggae stuff, he did some Mos Def songs, but then they would also filter other music through whichever instrument. Like we had a 6-minute sousaphone session, and we got to hear all of these, a few pop songs that a lot of people know, but interpreted through the sousaphone. And I'm not sure if it's the same player that they've been playing with, because his stage name was Tuba Gooding Jr. and now they were calling him Tuba Libre. Yeah. So it feels like it might just be the same joke 2 different ways and it's the same guy, but I'm not entirely sure because that's a newer addition to the band. But then you had Captain Kirk on guitar, and he, I don't know, just went off for 15 minutes. And we forget, like, I think of the Roots as a hip-hop band because that's what I knew them as. What they're doing now is so much beyond that, and that's not to the detriment of their hip-hop credibility, right? Because when he picked up the guitar, they were doing things like Mos Def that I was talking about. They were doing Apache. There was a few bars from Sound of Music in there.
We got a little bit of my favorite things, which I lost my mind. I was so excited about, and we got some throwbacks from 2006 in the bar, which was amazing. So it was a really great amalgamation of.
And then just a full-on Zeppelin song.
Yeah.
They just like broke into immigrant song too.
Yeah.
And if you told me I'd be seeing the Roots in Calgary, outdoors at a folk festival, and they'd cover Zeppelin, if you told me that to me in '95, I would not have believed it. But here we are. And like Sam was saying, no breaks in between, no introducing the band in a break, no thanking the audience. It would happen organically in songs, and they would flow from one thing to the next. There were no clear delineations between songs. It was simultaneously sounded improvised, and they were picking up on what other people were putting down, but also so choreographed, and so, because it was, maybe they're just such a well-oiled machine by this point. But
I feel like you can't put on a 2-hour straight show without a little bit of choreographing it. Sure. But they seem like such a well-oiled machine, and it did feel like they were improvising, but maybe that's just how they meant it to sound. But it was an incredible feat to witness. Like, not being a huge Roots fan before, I was blown away. I was like speechless at the end. It was amazing.
And also, like, we gotta say, well, I thought looking good. He's an older guy now, and man, we got to go right up, and I was in the media pit shooting photos, and we'll get those photos out to you. And it was fantastic. That's all I can say. It was great.
Yeah, I know how much this show meant to Indy, so getting to see him, getting to shoot like his childhood idols, is that appropriate to say?
I think, yeah, a little bit, yeah.
Was like pretty special for me to like get to kind of watch him be like photographing this like incredible set, and then just getting to sit and snuggle in the dark on the chairs and watch this like incredible 2-hour show.
But as great as that was, afterwards we did go home at a reasonable time. The good thing about not going to after parties in Calgary is that we were up for the 10:30 shows, where we got to see Ginger Beef, and we've been talking about them in the last episode as well, but they started things off this morning. And before their concert, they were nice enough to sit down with us for a while, where we got to talk to them. We are here on Saturday afternoon with Ginger Beef, who plays music that's kind of like a fun score to your life.
Yeah.
If you want to just be walking around and have everything scored.
Yeah. Oh, you just heard on set. Yeah.
Yes.
Amazing. Aw.
When I'm just going around and talking to people, I have heard from multiple people to listen and go check out Ginger Beef. So being a Calgary's own and now playing here, how does that feel for you?
It's been amazing. Like, I keep saying that every step that we've taken as Ginger Beef, it's because we're getting pulled along. It's not because the motivation isn't coming from within us. It's like our first song and video, it was meant to be a one-off thing. And then we showed it at Camp Sled Island a couple years ago. And then everybody was like, where's the rest of the music? We want to hear more. But it was supposed to be a one-off thing. But we're like, okay, I guess we got to write more music now. And then so we formed a band and started playing live. And then it's like, when's the album coming out? Oh, well, I guess we got to record this stuff now. And then recorded an album. And then it's and then every step of the way is because someone asks, oh, are you playing any festivals? so it's amazing just to be kind of dragged along like
And
this.
also, like, for me particularly, like, I think of my first folk fest was probably like pre-COVID, like 2018, maybe 2017, 2018. First time we came to see like some of the acts, and it just and now like just a few years later, and then myself and is playing it. It just feels kind of surreal, like wow, we're very very fortunate and grateful for the opportunity too.
So the fans have demanded you go from the audience to the stage over the last few years.
That's pretty much how it happened. Yeah. So who are we to to fight it?
Yeah.
And then on that note of things kind of having a moment in pop culture right now, you got Andre Benjamin, you got Lizzo playing flutes, very making some worldwide noise. TEKE, who's here now, another great flautist. So are you kind of feeling that the flute is having a little time?
It's a moment for the flute. Yeah, well, it should be the time for the flute, I think, right?
I think it's your turn.
Yeah, that's I think the next T-shirt design. It's flute's turn.
Oh,
Writing that down right
Right.
now.
So I always like to ask people, what did you grow up listening to, and does that have an influence on you now, or do you feel like you grew up listening to one thing and you diverged later on in life?
I mean, like for myself, I grew up studying classical music. So I wouldn't say that classical music doesn't do anything with anything that I'm doing right now. It is quite the opposite, even though I don't really play in the style of classical music. And also, one of the Ginger Beef thing is that we're an instrumental band that, playing classical music is not an unusual thing for playing instrumental music, which just, okay, we're just doing what we're doing kind of thing. Yeah, and another thing is that growing up, I listened to a lot of Chinese folk music that my mom plays. So she is a pipa player. Pipa is a Chinese lute, and it has 4 strings, and then she wears like fake fingernails wrapped around her fingers. And playing is, she is definitely in there somewhere in my mind. It's definitely all the things like combined. Also like recent experience when I moved to Calgary and started playing different styles of music and jamming with different musicians, and
Yeah. When you were training as a child, did you think you'd be playing a Little Green Bag on flute to a big audience like that?
Right, never, right? That's the thing. That's a really fascinating thing for me looking back. It was like, it's totally not planned. Ginger Beef was not planned. Can you believe that? It was just like, it just happened during COVID.
Other people are getting puppies, and you created a band.
That's right. We already had a dog, so we had to find something else. Yeah, for me, the music that I listened to growing up, I'm a rock guy, but my favorite band I've been on record saying is The Police. I really, really dig them, what they do. I love them because they have so much capability. They're all jazzers, all 3 guys. They're phenomenal jazzers, but they just choose to play 3 or 4 chords per song, but they choose the perfect chords, and I think that's really informed the way that I look at music. I really like pop that is, I like to call it jazz adjacent. That's kind of where Ginger Beef kind of ended up as well. I would never dream of calling myself a jazzer. I don't have that kind of training or anything, but it's like secondhand jazz, I guess you could say.
Some secondhand
Influenced
classical
by-
mixed with secondhand jazz.
That's right, yeah. And but I love bands that like Weezer and songs that have really strong melodies. The Beatles, and I'm such a basic bro when it comes to my tastes, but I think it's really informed just the way that I appreciate and listen to music. Lately, I've been listening to a lot of yacht rock, unironically.
Also, I think having a moment, right? The last 2 years, there you see a lot more of that. Where I feel like a lot of bands were like a joke or a guilty pleasure. Now everyone's fully celebrating it, which is fun.
It's amazing, yeah. I mean, I went to see the Doobie Brothers in concert when they came to the Dome a few months ago, and wow, Michael McDonald doing his thing blew my mind. And actually, like, for our album release party, We did a little cover of I Keep Forgetting, and I did my best Michael McDonald impression, and it's like I have a pretty shameless taste in music.
I think that's a big theme on our show. No guilty pleasures, just pleasure.
You just
Right.
enjoy what you like.
I love that. That is, I could not agree more. Just own it.
Yeah.
Don't feel guilty about it. No guilty pleasures. That's gonna be my maximum.
So on our podcast, we usually take turns bringing each other a movie. What is your comfort movie?
You were watching Infernal Affairs again, or a summary of Infernal Affairs. So you know about this
Recently,
movie?
Oh, yes. Very big fan.
I think the Chinatown Pop-Up movie club in
In
Calgary just played this one, and then that reminded me, and I was like, oh, I missed this movie and I haven't seen it for a while, and I looked it up, and there's a summary of this movie. I'm just like quickly watch it one more time, but it was really really great. Yeah, I grew up watching a lot of like Asian films, and I mean I'm from China, so that's all I watch, most of them.
We have a big Tony Leung influence on our show. He's my very favorite actor, so we talk about it. Samantha gets forced to watch all of them.
Lots of Wong Kar-wai.
Lots of
Oh, interesting.
The film studies degree. It gets
real.
real.
Interesting.
You know, there are
Amazing.
worse things to be forced to watch.
Yeah.
And for me, I guess, both of the movies I'm gonna say for my comfort movies are actually sequels, but they're sequels that I think are better than the first movies. The first one I'm gonna say is Aliens. Any time it's on, if I'm just tuning in halfway, I gotta watch the rest of the movie. Aliens is just top notch in my books. It's like I know Alien is great, it's a classic and all, but I love Aliens. Another one I gotta say is Wrath of Khan. That's another all-timer. Both of them have creepy bugs crawling into people, now that I think about it, or crawling out of people. I don't know what that says about my taste in movies, but I think those are my two comfort movies.
I think this is one of the first times where all of these movies might be covered on our show at some point, because I'm a fan of all of that as well. So.
I got a new fan.
Excellent. So obviously we're a husband and wife team, and you guys are a husband and wife team, and I was told that I have to say that you're amazing and it's wonderful to work with you. But what's it like? What's it like working with your spouse?
You know Fleetwood Mac? No. Yeah, we're Fleetwood Mac without the lyrics. No, it's no. Actually, it's been really amazing. I think it's probably the greatest thing we've created together so far. But
Our wedding was really fun.
you know what?
That was like the first project we did. It was kind of like for our wedding, because we kind of
For the reception.
for the reception part, we organized the concert, and I had all of our friends come to play and jam, and we actually did 20 people choir of Rhapsody. What is it
Bohemian
called?
Rhapsody.
Bohemian
we
Rhapsody.
performed that one live.
In live, and then
With the
tracked all
choir.
the singer. You can sing. Okay, come to sing the song. It was actually really fun. Yeah, that was kind of like the first thing we did together.
Yeah, and it was slam dunk. We're very different personalities. Jaja thinks that's insane, but I think it was like complementary colors. You know, red and green look good together. So
There's some definitely challenges that you can imagine with like two very different people.
we just did the Myers-Briggs test last week, and we are polar.
opposite of our four
We're
letters.
complementary. I'm gonna say again. You know, there were rocky moments, but I think, but we get past them, like musically and otherwise.
Yeah, I
and,
think especially
we
at the
get
beginning.
stronger.
At the beginning of Ginger Beef, we just gotta figure out a way, how to make this work, from songwriting or
Yeah,
to,
because our personalities are so different, and our musical backgrounds.
and also creative process. Everybody is different, right? Like even talk about that, right? Like how can you write a song in the same room with two very different people living together, call them husband and wife, and writing together? It's just like but we figured it out.
Yeah, I mean, like, because Jaja comes from that classical background, and she's very improvisational. She's just like this free-flowing spigot of creativity that's just like rushing forth, which is amazing to me because I have such a different approach to creativity. So I come from a a very production-oriented background. So I'm always trying to build things like an architect. Architects don't just, slap things together and make buildings, so
Yeah, because I'm very much like a living in the moment person, like this is the moment I feel and I should grab it. I should just use this moment for my advantage of creation.
Whereas I'm trying to build something for the ages. So it's like, oh, this one was pretty good. This part's good. We'll keep that part, but let's see what we can, build on top of this thing. So then just a lot more of a structural approach to it. But I think it's why this album and our music is the way it is because I think if it was entirely done my way, it wouldn't be nearly as interesting, and I don't think it would resonate as much with people as with this kind of confluence of methodologies here.
I think if it entirely done with my way, it would work.
But you could only ever play it once, and then it's gone. It would never be the same ever again.
Gotta be there.
All right. Well, thanks so much. And where can people check out more of your music? Well, I guess some of our audience should be in Calgary as well.
Yeah, I
Yes.
mean, we put out our album in October, and it's streaming everywhere. And
But if
it's
you're so inclined to purchase or download our music, it's on Bandcamp, so please check in.
Oh my
just
God!
on the CD.
Samantha just flashed
out
a
a CD.
CD.
Yeah,
Oh my
we also have
gosh!
CD,
Who
yeah.
listens to CDs anymore? Do you listen to it?
I do. Every now and then.
We were super flattered that you picked Ginger Beef to be one of your physical media purchases.
It's a good album. I've been listening to it a lot. So check out their album. You can listen to it during whatever you want because it will be the score for your day. But it's going to make everything you do a little bit more fun, a little more happy. So thanks so much for being here with us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So yeah, we talked before we started recording and we continued talking for a while after. They are so much fun. We had such a great time talking to them. And they're just such talented musicians as well. Getting to see that concert of theirs was just like amazing.
I think because when I'm listening on the album, I'm not sure all of the things that Warren or MSG does. Because we know that Jaja does the flute, but he is a multi-instrumentalist, so he was shredding on guitar, and when I got to see him in a session, there he got to do some, not their music, and you could tell he was having a lot of fun with that. But then also on the keys, doing a bit of everything.
Yeah, it was really fun to see how they can switch between instruments. Their banter on stage is super fun, and my favorite song is about their dog Cam.
Oh yeah, and then we got to do the barks, and oh man, I think we say this a lot as well, but everyone we meet and get a chance to interview, just the nicest people. I want to be best friends with all of them now.
I know, I'm kind of sad that we may never talk to them again because we had such a great time just chatting with another husband and wife team, so that was really fun.
Already today we've been bouncing around to a bunch of different things, so there's so many artists that we've seen that we can't even mention all of them. But do you have another one that you want to shout out?
Yeah, so I think I talked about this in the pre-episode, but Sunday morning is usually some sort of gospel sing-along, churchy kind of style session, and I went to the Gospel According To with Kaylee Cardinal, Leon Timbo, and Charlie Parr, and Kaylee Cardinal made me cry again, and we sang Amazing Grace, and it was just such a beautiful experience. And then Nimki and the Ninis came out after and did a concert, and it was amazing to see this celebration of Indigenous language and the beautiful regalia that they were wearing and the drum and how they talked about it.
Well, as you can probably tell by our audio quality, we're back home in Kitchen Studio, but we still haven't finished our Folk Fest time because, you know what, we were just too busy to record ourselves while we were out there.
It was a whirlwind of a weekend, and going and catching all the acts we wanted to see meant that we didn't have a lot of downtime to just sit around and hang out. So
and on Sunday, we needed it.
We did. We were
tired.
so tired. And it was a long day, but we wanted to see everything that we could so that we could tell you all about it.
So let's pick up where we left off, which was Sunday afternoon. We went and saw Nicolette and the Nobodies for the third time of that
I think.
weekend.
Yeah.
So we don't need to say much more. We're fans. We talked to her and about her earlier.
She's amazing. She looked so cute.
That too.
Yeah.
Then I went and saw Sunny War, Ila Bamba, and Czar Electric in a session. You weren't there with me for that one, but I had been listening to Ila Bamba a bunch before and was a fan of her music, their music. I think it's mostly it's the one singer, but I wasn't familiar with the others. And Czar Electric I liked a lot, and Sunny War we then got to see again because a session a little bit later. I wanted to go see Allegra Krieger because I had missed her solo. So we got to see her performing with Sunny War, Q Varro, and Nisa.
Yes, and it's always a good show when you get some like different musical styles going and they all kind of work together.
And we saw that on what we started calling Lady Stage because
Yeah.
everyone we saw there was either a woman or a female-fronted band.
Yeah, which is funny. Good lady stage. Yeah, this was like a nice, relaxing kind of set, and we got some really cool moments out of it.
My favorite probably, even though I was there primarily to see other people, I didn't know Nisa very well, but she did a cover of the Stooges' I Want to Be Your Dog. And if you're going to play the Stooges, you're going to win me over pretty quickly. So that was good. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, and that was like a moment where we weren't running all over the festival site, so it was very nice.
We actually sat a little bit further away in shade because we needed
Yeah.
it by this point. But then when she played that, I had to get up and get in the front for that. And then that brought us into the closing of Sunday night, which was just the main stage. So the first artist we saw there was Miko Marks.
Yes, she was fantastic. She looked so cute. She had a white dress on and white cowboy boots, and she has such a huge, amazing voice. And she was joined by another artist at the festival, and they had played a session stage earlier that day, and she said, "Why don't you come and sing with me?" So we had Leon Timbo and his backup singers, and they put on like an amazing show, and I think they did a lot of really cool kind of gospel-y style things, and it was just it was big voices and like a super fun show to watch.
I think both of them, Miko Marks and Leon Timbo, either due to just negligence or just because I had so many other things to listen to, I didn't really get into their music beforehand. And this is where I saw them. And I'm glad I got to see them at least here because it kind of opened up their stuff to me, and now I can kind of delve into what they've been doing. I'm not sure how their recorded stuff is, but live they were both fantastic.
Oh, it was amazing. Yeah, and the voices that the four people on stage had were just they worked so well together. So I definitely have them on my list of things that I need to look at once we're done Edmonton Folk Fest,
Right.
because we still have another Folk Fest to go.
Well, speaking of Edmonton Folk Fest, someone who is going to be coming to both of them is who we saw next, and that is fantastic Negrito.
Yes.
I'd been listening to him a lot, and he played the songs I know, so that's good. It's someone who I didn't know 2 months ago, but brought that blues, brought that rock, and brought showmanship.
Oh my goodness. What an outfit. He was wearing such a beautiful costume, and he really like had a lot of like style and flair in his show.
I kind of love both ends of it because we talk to people like Ginger Beef and like Nicolette Huang who are very like reserved and kind of nervous almost, and that has a lot of charm to me when they're on stage and they're just genuinely so thankful that you're there listening to their music. But then I love this other, like this full rock star mentality that not many people at a folk fest bring, but Fantastic Negrito definitely brought that.
Yeah, it was all spectacle, and it was very fun to get to hear him sing the songs that we know from the playlist that we made, and also just get to see him do it live. And it was one of those shows that like really doesn't translate to just listening to it recorded.
Yeah, I wonder if when we see him again, if we're further back, it would lose so much of that because we got to watch from the media pit, and he puts on a show, right? This venue is so large that when you're in the back, there's just a person up there moving around, and it doesn't quite have the same vibe.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, we really lucked out getting to see that up close because it was amazing to get to see.
And then to round out the Folk Fest, we were dead tired at this point, but we made it. We started this day at what, 10:30?
10:30, yeah, which is a huge feat for Folk Fest.
And then ended it at 10:30 as well, so it was a 12-hour day. And it was Booker T. It was called Booker T Presents a Stax Review. So I never talked about this going into it. I also didn't know what it was.
Yeah, me neither.
This was our fault. I saw what it said, and I thought this was kind of a tribute to Booker T.
Right.
I didn't know that he was going to be there.
Oh, I see. I knew he was going to be there. I didn't really understand what a Stax Review was.
Yeah, so what it is Booker T from Booker T and the MGs. They were the house band for Stax Record, and Stax Records made so many hits. So what they did was kind of they were a jukebox of hits, and they played it all there. It was Booker T on keys, and then he brought in so many different contemporary artists as guests, and they had like the house band there. The Stax house band, not the Calgary Folk Fest house band.
Yes.
So we got to hear classics, things that everyone knew, like Respect.
Yeah, it was really cool to hear some like classic songs sung by contemporary artists, and to get to see some of the talent that is being like fostered at the record label. And it was just like a really cool little moment.
And so many of the artists at a folk festival, you don't know all of their songs.
No.
Even though we did so much research, there's so many things that you're discovering at the time. But with this, the majority of the audience knew the majority of the songs, and that was a lot of fun too.
Yes.
It was in a very different feel, but everyone was singing along.
Everyone
dancing.
loves a sing-along.
Yeah.
So it's always fun when you can like get up and clap and you know the song, and it's just kind of a uniting experience.
Yeah. And then we were united in sleepiness.
Oh my God, we were so tired.
I'm glad it wasn't the Roots at the end of Sunday because I didn't have the energy for it. So this was a nice way to end a great festival.
Yeah, we had such a fantastic time, and like thank you to the Calgary Folk Fest for letting us come and be media.
Yeah, thank you. And thanks especially to the good folks, or the volunteers in the media tent who are our friends after a while.
Yes, we made some friends. We had some chats with people, and it was really nice to have a place to go where everyone was like actually excited to see you.
Well, I think we can wrap up our first Calgary Folk Fest. So what are your takeaways, or maybe what is your Folk Fest moment from this weekend?
I think my Folk Fest moment was getting to see Kaylee Cardinal and Leon Timbo, and I cannot remember who the third person was, but he was fantastic too, do the like Sunday morning church service style session. And I think that was really amazing. And I always like want to get to that session at Edmonton Folk Fest, but I'm never up early enough on a Sunday to do that, so I usually miss it. But it is kind of a nice little tradition that Folk Fests do. What about you?
That artist was the Buckleys.
The Buckleys.
I don't know how to narrow it down. I think one clearly is seeing the Roots and that 2-hour show they did, and being in the media pit, where this was the first time it was actually busy down there, because all of the photographers were out. There's CBC and Global and everyone was down there, and newspapers. So
I got stuck on one side of the media pit because everyone was busy shooting.
There was kind of a tension waiting for everyone to come in. Everyone was claiming their spots, and you're metering and remetering and checking everything and checking your balance and just waiting for them to come. And then when they did, it was frenetic. It was so exciting, and it was a lot of fun to shoot. And I haven't been shooting concerts in a long time, so that whole show was clearly my favorite thing. But that is kind of obvious. I'm a very big fan of theirs. I've been looking forward to it for a long time. But one that was probably the biggest surprise for me was I think it was Thursday night when we saw the Mariachi Ghost, because that was our first time in the media pit. So that kind of brought back some nostalgia for me. And then I'm like, okay, I don't really know these guys. I'd heard some of it. It was kind of fun, and I'm going to shoot it. And then they blew me away.
They were fantastic.
It was such a good show. We got to see them 2 more times and talk to Jorge, which is on this. But it was such a great experience, and it just kind of reinvigorated my love for live music. It set the tone for the rest of the weekend, and what a great tone.
It was definitely a good warm-up for the weekend, and yeah, that was definitely a highlight of mine for sure, was realizing how great they were.
And then we say this all the time, but everyone we interviewed, I just want to be best friends with all of them.
Oh, they were so fantastic. Yeah, getting to talk to Jorge, getting to talk to Nicolette, getting to talk to Ginger Beef was just like, it was so fun. And I feel like we had like a good rapport with all of them. So
I think if you are an artist who is doing an interview with just some podcast out of Edmonton, you're probably a nice person to go out of your way to do that. So they were all very nice to us.
Yeah.
So as someone who's been going to Edmonton's Folk Fest for 30 plus years, how did you find Calgary's?
It's different. It's very, very different. I wasn't sure how different the festivals would be, being that they are technically the same kind of festival. There were definitely parts that were very similar, and I liked the familiarity of it, but I also really appreciated kind of the layout and the amount of stages that they had going on at once. Like, I kind of liked the 2 main stage idea. It was kind of neat because you could do different things on each stage. And then, I thought their layout on the island was actually really cool, and I appreciated it because it didn't feel quite as much of a trek to get anywhere.
I absolutely loved it. Maybe it was just a good year for me to come, but the selection of music, the variety of music was so many different things that I love were all in one weekend. Where could I see my Tuareg rock, my indie folk, and my 90s hip hop in one show? In one weekend. Yeah, so I got to see so many things that I loved. It was just fantastic. I don't know if I can say enough good things about it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I always say, and we haven't bought tickets in a long time, but it's such a good value for what you're getting. The amount of concerts that you can see, if you like divide that up based on what the ticket price is, it's like an incredible deal, and you're not going to be able to see many concerts for that low of a ticket price. So definitely think about going.
And Calgary Folk Music Festival, definitely bring us back next year so we can do this all over again. I'm already excited
please.
For it. So go petition Calgary to bring us back. Go check out all of these artists that we've been talking about. A lot of them are not terribly well known on independent labels and could always use your support. And definitely check us out next week when we'll be talking more about Edmonton's. Oh, next week is we're gonna play last year's
Yes.
Edmonton episode.
Because we will not have this year's edited yet.
No, because it's coming out on Monday and we'll be out till like 3 a.m. on Sunday.
Yeah, so we won't be editing the podcast in order to release it. But the week after, you can hear all about our escapades at Edmonton Folk
Oh, there's
Fest.
going to be escapades.
I hope so.
Oh, that's great. I love a good escapade.
Yeah. Hijinks and escapades.
Hijinks are the one thing I like more than escapades.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Well, I hear Edmonton's got both.
All right. Well, look forward to that, and we will see you. Well, I guess we'll see you on the hill for
See
the
you on
Edmonton
the
Folk
hill.
Fest.
Bye, everyone.
Goodbye.
That'd be so cool to get into a fist fight with Sting.